You can now hear Movie Heaven, Movie Hell on Stitcher. Stitcher is radio on demand. Listen anytime, anywhere. Stitcher is an award-winning free app that lets you listen to all your favourite shows, plus discover from 20,000 news, entertainment and sports shows. You can also create your own custom playlists. Stitcher is available on iOS, Android, Nook, iPad and in over 4 million car dashboards. You can stream your favourite podcasts from Stitcher. Don't have Stitcher? Download it free today at Stitcher.com or in the App Store. And please leave us a review and rating on Stitcher. Thank you. Welcome to Movie Heaven, Movie Hell with me, Simon Aitken, and
I'm Keith Eyles, and we're joined by two guests.
I'm Mike Tack, back again to sort these blokes out.
And I'm Clive Ashenden, filmmaker, regular guest, contributor to Movie Heaven, Movie Hell from the A to Z of SFF podcast.
It's good to know you're regular, Clive.
There you go. And we are, as Clive said, all independent filmmakers that enjoy discussing movies and related topics. And on the subject of related topics, the reason we've all got together for this podcast extra is because we were all lucky enough to go and attend the John Carpenter Release the Bats in concert this Halloween. We're also joined by my good friend Chris, who gets honourable mention here. And I think Jason Braun, one of our contributors, also attended the previous day. So we thought we'd do a little podcast about it.
yes.
Also, Dr. Swifty, one of the Fright Festers I know, attended, and Andy Thomas, who actually had an horrific time up in Manchester, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you didn't know about that, did you?
But it was great to see the legend that is John Carpenter, live on stage with his band, basically playing, the themes from his films whilst it was, cut together with scenes of his films on the big screen, and it was just I really got a buzz out of it. I thought it was the perfect thing to do over Halloween.
Firstly, I think all three of us need to thank you for the tickets, Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And it was a great night.
Happy Halloween, guys. You're welcome.
Did you pay for everyone, Keith? I thought it was only me you paid for.
There you go.
Oh, he's going to want something, Simon. You know it. He's going to call that favour back in the future.
Yeah, I'm making this film, and I need you all to help. Yeah. Remember those tickets? Yeah, indeed. No, but it was awesome to this was held at the Troxy theatre in London, which is kind of a fairly old sort of Art Deco type building, wasn't it? It was quite an interesting place where it was
situated in a. Interesting is another word for hellhole. You know what I mean? It's like the worst part of the EastEnders. Disgusting. I'm not used to that sort of filth, am I?
There you go. I forgot we've got Mike on, so this particular edition is rated R for rowdy, right, Mike?
Yeah. 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 So, Keith, what made you prompted you to be this fit of generosity when you saw it? Did something just click inside you and you go, you know what, this is going to be one of the few chances we get to see this old geezer?
Well, funny enough, when myself and Simon did a podcast extra where we had Jason Braun as one of our guests, who's a horror writer, writes novels and screenplays, and is a regular Fright Fester as well. And afterwards, when we were having a drink, he mentioned that he was going to this, and I didn't even realise, and I was like, "Oh wow, when's that?" And he said it was Halloween, but the date was completely sold out. But because of popularity, they'd issued a second date. So when I got home, I got straight on the internet and got it sorted basically. And I thought, who are the people who want to go? You three guys were obvious, but also I knew my mate Chris was a massive fan of Carpenter and particularly likes his music and whatever. So that's what prompted me. Basically, I thought, yeah, let's do it, and glad we did. Yeah. But thank you, Jason, for letting us know about it.
Yeah, I thought the venue, if they'd have turned the lights up, you would have seen like how rough it looked inside. But once the lights were down, it was a fabulous example of an Art Deco theatre, wasn't it? It sort of looked like what an Odeon would look like years ago. Apart from, I didn't have too much trouble getting there. It's just such a bizarre place to go and do something like that. Normally it would be something like the O2 or some sort of Wembley Arena or something like that. But we had great tickets. We were in the balcony, weren't we? There were these there was people sitting in front of us, and they had these tables, and it meant that they were going to get bad neck ache because they were sat sideways to the stage. I was glad, as I did say, I hate support bands. They're a total waste of time for me, and because I'm not interested. And so I was pleased that we didn't have to endure some horrific support band.
Here's a question for you guys. If there had been a support band, who should it have been?
Rob Zombie.
Well, actually, I would have liked that.
Facetious.
No, his music. I like his music, so I would have liked that. Or Alice Cooper. That would have been quite good as well.
That would have been relevant as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because he's been in one of his films, hasn't he?
He has.
That's right. He's been in Prince of Darkness.
In fact, he was in one of the clips when he was doing the Prince of Darkness music. So yeah.
So the format of the show was that it was really nice because I know it sounds stupid these days, but it was a live band. They're all good musicians. There may be some. It was all, even though there was electronics, because obviously when he writes his music, he uses more than one keyboard. He tracks up stuff, but he had his son, didn't he, on one of the other keyboards, who was very good.
That's right. Yeah, Cody Carpenter.
It was good. Basically, he would he sort of went through most of his filmography. Certainly the filmography that he did the scores for. Plus, obviously, a tribute to Morricone with doing his thing intro. But then he also he released an album with some of unreleased movie music that he sort of played in between those things to make it into sort of a full-length concert, didn't he?
Well, it's 2 albums now.
Lost Themes, isn't it?
Lost Themes and Lost Themes. Well, Lost Themes 1 and 2.
I bought Lost Themes.
Yeah,
I ordered it straight away after the gig.
Oh, there you go.
I'm going to stick that in. So he's achieved what he wanted, selling his album. Sorry, Clive, carry on.
No, I don't think that. I think maybe the original idea was that some of the ones on the first album were ideas he'd had for themes for films, but he, with the success of the first one, I think the second one it's more just sort of music that he's interested in making. So yeah, but I thought it made for a nice contrast with the filmic stuff.
Absolutely,
it maybe would have been nice to have a bit more visually going on behind the band on the screens when they were playing the Lost Themes, because obviously when they were playing the excerpts from their films, you know, the themes from the fog or whatever, then they would have clips from they would have montage clips from the films behind them. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was. I mean, I thought, you know, live they came across very well, the new stuff.
Was played behind when they were playing those tracks. But yeah, when they did you know, the music from the films, it seemed to come alive a bit more than when they were doing the stuff from the albums. I mean, I specifically liked the bit where they all put sunglasses on for They Live.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, that was fun. I mean, They Live is a great film, and obviously, you know, it was always intended to be, as well as a sort of sci-fi action film, but, you know, obviously a social satire and commentary. But I'd forgotten sort of even how much it resonates now, to the point that not only did they have, you know, all those hidden messages in the advertising, but they had drones, and I'd forgotten about that. And I was like, oh, wow, yes, it is literally like today.
I saw a comment on Facebook, and someone put a picture up there, and there's some of my American friends, and I just said to them, I said, I actually think the aliens would possibly do a better job of running the government than the two abysmal choices you've got at the moment. So
there you go, the social political statement.
So what did you guys think about? See, I would have almost liked John Carpenter in between the songs to talk a bit more myself, not rant on for ages, but just maybe give us a little bit of an insight into how he maybe arrived at, say, a classic tune like the Halloween riff, or you know what I'm saying, a bit, maybe a bit more of the thought process behind when he did various bits of music. He sort of he didn't really talk that much, did he? He almost was reading from a script, wasn't he?
Well, he went the other extreme, because last Halloween I went to a similar thing, only I went with a girl I was seeing at the time, to see Alan Howarth, who is obviously one of his collaborators in a lot of his movies, do a similar thing. And it was Alan Howarth doing music over scenes from Halloween's 2 through 6, and also Escape from New York. And but he kind of went the other extreme, because he talked quite a bit about how he got involved in working with Carpenter and meeting Carpenter, which I found really interesting. But I could tell the girl I was with was getting kind of bored and thinking, oh, this is geek stuff. Get on with the music, will you?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So, it's a tricky one.
It's tricky. I would just like to add I saw because I got there earlier than you guys, because you told me to get there extremely early. There was people that were coming out the front with various bits and pieces, and apparently that was the meet and greet, which was, what was it, £100 or something, to meet John Carpenter and get him to scribble on something.
I'm sorry, guys, I failed you, didn't I?
Well, I can understand it, because I heard I don't know whether you told me, Keith, but they said that he was going to come over for Fright Fest one year, and then we heard that apparently he was afraid of flying or some bullshit like that.
I think it was Clive who told me that, or Simon.
Yeah. So it's like he will come over here when he wants to. So, but that's one of the other things that struck me, was that he seemed to be really enjoying himself, which a lot of recent sort of John Carpenter sort of interviews, he's looked a bit fucked off, hasn't he? So it was really nice to see him enjoying himself and getting a buzz, because the crowd was a sellout crowd, wasn't it?
Yeah,
they're really appreciative.
Big time. Yeah, it was pretty packed, and you can tell he and the band had a lot of fun doing that, for sure.
I actually thought the music he played from his films, it sort of fell in with my perception of what are his greatest films, really. Apart from maybe Vampires was missed off, but I can't remember what the music is. That's probably a bit more forgettable. But generally speaking, he touched upon everything that I love about John Carpenter's films. You know, there wasn't one there really. I don't think that doesn't really, you know, stand up as a good movie.
Yeah, the theme tune to Starman would have been good to hear.
That's what I thought.
Him, was it?
But again, he didn't do that one, did he?
No, but he didn't do the thing either. But they played that one.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe musically, I don't know. Maybe there's elements there. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with Starman like you are, so because it's not really the horror-y type thing.
He's an alien being that's come from outer space, and he's learning how to be human, and it's more believable than Keanu Reeves in The Day the Earth Stood Still.
I've forgotten about that film. I struck it from my memory.
Which one, Starman or The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Day the Earth Stood Still.
I mean, the focus was very much on his horror stuff. Obviously, with the for the Halloween, and no, it was great. I mean, we got everything from
In the Mouth of Madness and The Fog. The rest were
Prince of Darkness.
Oh, Prince of Darkness. But I mean, you had Escape from New York. You had Assault on Precinct 13. You had They Live.
Yeah,
they're all sort of genre films.
Yeah, no Dark Star.
No Dark Star, no.
Thank God. They actually started up with Assault on Precinct 13, which that tune's been used in remixes and people that have done drum and bass and all that, haven't they? They've nicked that riff. That was used in Xenon, wasn't it?
Xenon 2, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't think I was going to know that, did you?
Well, you didn't bring it up.
Yeah, well, I caught you out. So I thought for me, because I've been to a few gigs in my long years, and that was a cracking gig. I enjoyed every second of it. I liked all of the lost themes because there's lots of the chord structures and things are very sort of heavy metal in the sort of, you know, the notes they use and things like that. So that's why I sort of like his music, as you know, even though it's keyboards. I mean, there's some good guitaring in it. I like the guitar player. He was pretty good at messing around with sustain and things, which I appreciate. So
yeah, it was a great gig, and this is the thing. I mean, when we talk about movies on these podcasts, we're often referencing the composers, and obviously we all know as filmmakers how important music is to the craft of filmmaking. And you know, there are a few exceptions, but not many directors, you know, also compose their music and do the music as well. And he is certainly one of them that's always done that. And
well, we've got
know,
another
really
one. Keith, you realise you have another one on the line right now?
yeah, I do a bit.
Yeah, Mike.
Oh right, yeah.
You remember him? The other.
That
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's kind of up there with Carpenter, isn't he? Yeah.
underneath a piece of chewing gum on the sole of his shoe. That's where I am. But no, that's why
I'm on the other foot,
because I've got a musical, you know, affliction, and I've often used GarageBand just to knock out a few guitar riffs at the end of my little shorts, you know, just because I couldn't be bothered to get any library music or wait for someone to compose it. I actually composed on the keyboard, on a MIDI keyboard, the creepy sort of soundtrack for The Allotments, which I was quite pleased about because it had a bit of a zombie flesh eaters vibe. So it's something I'm going to do in the future, I think. I do enjoy messing around with synths because, especially if they're cheesy 80 synths, they always sound great.
Exactly. I mean, it's such a sound of that time period as well. I mean, you know, we all reference, you know, us guys when we've chatted about this, about how Carpenter's films were very much of you know, our love of movies growing up. You know, we grew up on Carpenter's films, and you know, it's that old thing. Music is one of those those senses when you hear it that always makes you go there and remember it. And I know for me, every time I hear the Halloween theme, you know, I get tingles up my spine, and you know, I remember the time I first saw it, you know, when I probably shouldn't have, when I was a kid. But you know, and how it freaked me out.
Well, his music is very creative, it's very unique, and it's his calling card that ties in with his filmmaking. And you know, a John Carpenter film, if you're aware of his work, he has his style, and that's what I like. He's got his own style. He's not just some generic, you know, blockbuster type director. Yeah, even with the Thing, and he didn't do his own music, Morricone was sensibly tried to ape Carpenter, and it's quite a complex set of notes and things. When I listened to it previously, watching the film, I didn't really notice it, but live it really came to me how, you know, Morricone did a very, because I thought, oh, maybe Carpenter took over and Morricone did bugger all, but when I listened to the structure of it and everything, it's like, actually, he did a fantastic job, Morricone, on taking the best of John Carpenter and then putting a bit of himself in there. I thought it was fantastic. Sort of leads me on to, you know, I think as soon as we left there, we were all checking our phones and looking on Amazon and seeing what Blu-rays we could buy. I bought the Christine, the recent release of the Christine. It's a good transfer, actually. I watched it last night because it's my wife's favourite film. And I've ordered In the Mouth of Madness, but it's called some sort of German version that is the only one you can get, which really pees me off because it's only the elitist Raincoat Brigade that have the multi-region Blu-ray players like Keith who get these imports and then, you know, sitting there in their underpants watching them going, oh, this is region A.
Yeah, well, I am gonna get the Shout Factory Collector's Edition for The Thing, because even though The Thing had loads on it anyway, there's 2 new commentary tracks on top of the previous one, and there's a shitload of new documentaries and stuff. So I'm definitely getting that for sure. Yes.
Don't blame you. I mean, I would if I had one. I just can't be bothered all that faffing around. But
I don't know, Mike. You sound kind of jealous there, you know.
Yeah, I am jealous. I'm
just
jealous
buy a
Keith.
multi-region Blu-ray. It's not like they're not available.
You know how much electrical shit I've got already, Keith. There's just no space, especially when I get my 65-inch TV. So there's going to be no space. So
yeah, you can slot one more piece of electronics. It's not like you're gonna. It's the whole place is going to explode if you put one more piece.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so the Screen Factory does some really good region. They do a really nice collector's edition of Prince of Darkness. Although I have pre-ordered the Assault on Precinct 13 one, Keith. Have you seen that? The region.
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah. It looks really good. I'm excited about that coming out.
Yeah,
for sure.
See, look, I've just emptied his wallet of another £25 there.
I mean, it's very easy to do that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So then it sort of made me just think, you know what? He's an old boy. You know, I'm not saying he's going to croak soon, and I don't want him to. But like a lot of directors, their earlier works are just when they're struggling and they're having to make do with low budgets and things like that, is often the most creative work they do. As soon as they move into the studio system, they get fucked over by the producers and the movie studios, and their vision gets lost, and you know, all that stuff. And it just made me think, you know, his body of work we've seen so far really puts him, when he's gone, we'll look back, and my personal view, I'll look back and I'll say, you know, he's a very, very, like, he's on a par with the Wes Cravens. I mean, Dario Argento, his early work was phenomenal, but his recent work was a pile of shit. And we all know that.
Mike,
But-
Mike, you can drop it. I know you can see Argento properly. I know you've just added that for the fans. You know, it's a fan special.
I know. It has to be done. It's like these little Easter eggs. So what do you guys think? Because I think he's on a par with a Hitchcock or a De Palma in his own field and his genre. I think he's a director who literally used to be able to sell a film just on his name, because it's always John Carpenter's this or even John Carpenter's Christine is written by Stephen King. You know, what do you guys think about his body of work and the impression that he's left on cinema?
Well, we did do one of our first podcasts. We actually did do one on John Carpenter when we got to see, and I think from Simon and my picks on that, it kind of cemented what you said, Mike, about a lot of his best work was some of his earlier work, and then later in his career, it kind of dropped off a little bit in terms of quality. Just that was sort of apparent from the films that we picked for that. But yeah, in terms of his legacy, I mean, certainly, comparison to De Palma and whatever, then yeah, I think within his genre, he will be remembered in that way. And well, hopefully he'll be around for a lot longer yet.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say is that he was certainly a director ahead of his time, because his films didn't do well at the time, but they've gone on to great acclaim and big audiences. And I don't think he got screwed over by the studio system, because they always let him have his way. I mean, look at The Thing.
Yeah.
Universal never turned around to him and said, "Oh, you can't have this, you can't do that." He more or less got his way. It was just unfortunate, but when the film came out, E.T. came out that same year, and audiences flocked to E.T. and not to The Thing. But if you look now, The Thing is held in higher regard than E.T. If you look at the show Stranger Things, there's a Thing poster on the wall of the kid's bedroom and not an E.T. one, which, as some people, some nitpickers have put, oh, that's not correct because they wouldn't have had that poster. But for fans, of that genre, looking back, seeing a Thing poster there is, we just love it. I mean, it's a great poster. It was just unfortunate that his films were ahead of their time and that audiences weren't quite prepared to sort of watch those, to see those films. I mean, look at Blade Runner. Blade Runner is exactly the same. It's a film that was ahead of its time, that built its audience over years.
I don't feel good about it, but at the time when his films, I was an avid Carpenter fan. I saw The Thing like at least 3 or 4 times in the theatre, because I thought it was one of the best films I'd ever seen at the time. And I was quite surprised when I heard in recent years, because I know that on video, that's where a lot of directors and films have gained cult status and have really picked up in the credibility rankings, that people have then since watched them on VHS and then DVD and things like that, and they look back and they thought, that was a really good movie, but I didn't realise at the time. But I realised at the time, because it ticked all of the boxes for me, all of his films. I loved all of his movies, and I even liked the Memoirs of an Invisible Man, which he didn't play the music for.
Yes.
But what do you think? What was your viewpoint, Clive?
I think I came to Carpenter a bit later than you guys. I didn't really grow up watching his movies.
You're young.
I discovered him through the program Movie Drome. I don't know if you guys remember
Alex
that.
Cox.
Yeah, when Alex Cox was fronting it, which, for any listeners not aware, it was this thing on BBC Two where basically the cult filmmaker Alex Cox, who did Repo Man and Sid and Nancy, would come on and sort of do an introduction to a pair of cult films, and it was like this weekly thing. And basically, it was a real education in sort of independent and alternative cinema. And so the first Carpenter film I would have seen would have been Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah. All right. I saw The Thing that way through Movie Drome, because it was really good, because what they did was they played Howard Hawks', you know, The Thing from Outer Space, followed by John Carpenter's The Thing. So I saw them back to back on television. And then I watched most of the others on video. I know with Halloween, my dad, it was one Christmas, and my dad rented Halloween and Halloween 2 both on video, and we watched them back to back. And I remember I was sort of blown away by the fact that the second film picked up exactly where the first one left off. And for me, I've always seen that as one complete story, even though he didn't direct the second part. I always looked at that as sort of one complete, you know, one night, if you like. But yeah, that was definitely a good way to catch a lot of those movies. I don't think I saw any of his films at the cinema until quite late, because most of his work when I was growing up was was on VHS or television, where I saw most of it. But,
well, that's my age speaking there, because obviously I in those days I had to go to the cinema because we didn't have VHS until I was about 17, 18. And even then they were like really expensive pieces of hardware, these massive VHS players.
Yeah.
What was your first introduction to Carpenter, Simon?
Mine, for me, it was Escape from New York. My dad rented it on the VHS, and I remember really, really loving it. I actually went into school like the following week, and I had to write a story for English, and I had this whole sort of thing where it was in the future, and that we had like RoboCops on every corner, and New York had been turned into a prison. And I remember my English teacher picking up on that. He says, "Oh, you've seen that Escape from New York?" I went, "Yeah." He said, "I read the book," and I went, "Okay." Obviously, he'd read the adaptation.
Yes,
because adaptations were very big at the time. But
they were, yeah.
But the way he made it sound, it was like the book came out first and then the film. But as we all know, that's not the case.
And as we all know, teachers are stupid.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Well, you just proved my point yet again.
Yeah, whatever. But that's of course one of the other brilliant things about Carpenter is not only is he this great director that creates this great music for his films, but of course he also writes his own material. Okay, sometimes they're adaptations, or remakes or whatever, but most of the time he's largely involved in the scripting and the shaping of it, as well as actually the direction. So he really is creative on all the strands, all those levels.
Would you say he's probably the most creative independent low budget filmmaker?
I don't think that's an unfair comment.
He's up there, isn't he? I mean, I know we've got George Romero, who is firmly independent filmmaker. I'm trying to think of any others. Obviously, not in any other genre. I'm sure there's independent filmmakers in other genres that have been very successful.
But I mean, is John Carpenter an independent filmmaker? I mean, he's
or low budget.
Low budget, but I mean, he's worked within the studio system. I mean, as we said, he's worked for Universal, he's worked for 20th Century Fox, and even up to sort of recently, his films have been released through studios. So it's a bit hard to say he's independent. I would say he's the sole creator of stuff.
Yeah,
he writes the scripts. He directs. He
casts a big shadow over his material, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh, big time. And also, we discussed this on the Carpenter podcast that we did. But I also think that a lot of credit. I mean, sadly, she is no longer with us. But when he worked with the producer Deborah Hill when they were together, you know, a lot of his best films, she was, you know, very, very influential on as well, and got involved in part of the writing for some of them as well.
I totally agree with that, because like Argento and Nickelodeon, his wife at the time, his material was amazing when he was with her, and then when he wasn't with her, it all went down the toilet, which makes you wonder how much, you know, they had a considerable influence on aspects of the film, or maybe even to the degree of someone saying, "Oh, look at that script," and they say, "No, that's not very good, but what about this one?" You know, I mean, Hitchcock was helped a lot by his wife Alma, wasn't he?
Big time.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
It just goes to show the women have a lot of can have a lot of impact on, even though there's this big hoo-ha about, you know, the latest trend is to say, "Oh, women directors, there's not enough of them," and then they're everywhere at the moment. They still had an impact, even though the main person carrying the films was, I don't know, their partner or their husband or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we had
point.
We had it with Gelhan, Hurd, and Cameron as well.
Yeah,
you know, on his earlier work. And you know, obviously she's producing like The Walking Dead now, and she's plenty of other things. But you know, definitely some of those partnerships, when the combination's right, can work really well. You know,
it seems to be almost genre specific as well, doesn't it? It's in the sort of genre we like and we enjoy. Those sort of partnerships seems to have flourished, haven't they?
Interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
So when John Carpenter dies and, you know, they release a box set with everything on Region A, you'll be buying it, won't you?
Well, you know, I hope we don't face that day for a long while, but certainly, you know, he's another one that if you do like the home media stuff, Carpenter contributes to quite a lot of his films, because most of them he's done commentaries on. Often when he gets his buddy Kurt Russell with him, they can be quite amusing commentaries when the pair of them get together. By the way, what are your thoughts on this? You know, again, we mentioned They Live, and, you know, it was good to see the footage from that, and I always enjoyed They Live. But do you always feel it would have been, you know, had it been Kurt Russell, it would have just elevated the film that little bit more?
I don't agree.
No, it's a question. It's not a statement.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think that you wouldn't have got one of the screen's best fist fights in history had you not had the wrestler Roddy Piper in the role in that film.
Good point.
He put together that amazing fight, which is, you know, I know you can get sort of kung fu action and you get the Raid, which you've not seen, and you know, Bruce Lee and all these sort of masterful cinematic fight scenes. But the one for a brutal street fight that is very, very well done. I think it's a highlight of the movie for me. And I think it took them, like, you know, Roddy Piper took him and Keith David, and they practiced and they did a lot of the stunts themselves, you know. So my personal thing is I love They Live. It's one of my favourite films.
Oh, it's great.
Time, you know.
I agree.
And I don't know.
Do you have the Blu-ray of that?
Yeah, I have actually. It's really good quality actually. It's a really good one. The Region 2 one is very good. Luckily, I met Roddy Piper the year before his untimely demise, and he's a lovely chap, really nice guy. Remember, I was with Tim Richards, the makeup guy that works with us quite a bit, and he said, "Oh, you know, I really like your film." When he got to meet Roddy, he said, "I really love." Is it Hell Comes to Frogtown?
It is indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And he had a big smile on his face when he said that, because that's the one where he gets not molested by women, but he's the only man that can conceive or something in that film, isn't it? Or something?
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, I think he's going into Frogtown to rescue a woman who can get pregnant, but I think also that he has like he's quite fertile.
He's the only fertile male or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bonkers film. Yeah.
It is. And he actually he laughed, and I mean, whether that was the fact that he was on some sort of ganja, because he was absolutely wasted when they did the Q&A with him and Meg Foster, the woman that was in They Live, the one with the amazing blue eyes,
piercing blue eyes. Yes,
well, yeah. She gave me a free autograph as well, which is quite nice, because I chatted to her for a bit and massaged her ego a bit, and she gave me a nice free autograph, because so it saved me $25, which is nice.
Any of you guys actually met John Carpenter though?
No, I wish, but no.
I have. I've met John Carpenter.
Whereabouts?
I was over in Orlando. It was when my film was screening over there, and
oh, cool.
They were giving him an award for his sort of lifetime achievement in horror films and stuff. And I got to sit next to him. And unfortunately, unfortunately, I didn't get. It was one of the things where it was right at the end of the festival, which was also a horror convention as well that he was appearing in. And he literally wanted to get home that night, and so there was a car waiting for him with the engine running to get him to the airport to fly him home. And he came in, he sat down, and they showed like clips from his work, and then he went up, received his prize. He said, "Thank you very much, and now I must go," and then off he went. And I think what we saw on stage with, sort of not much. He didn't say that much. I think it was kind of true when he accepted his prize. I don't think we were going to get a long speech anyway, even if the engine was running. So I think that's just how he is. I think he just he doesn't go into long speeches or talks a lot. He's just very, I guess, to the point.
He does on his commentaries though, in his interviews. He seems quite open and up for it, but maybe he's getting paid.
Yeah, he had a good interview about the Magnificent Seven, the original, and he talks about that, his fondness for that, and quite a bit, So,
So I think Simon frightened him off. He was sat next to him, thinking, "Oh my God, I've got this bloke that's staring at me all the time, and I need to get out of here quick." Getting stalked by this Brit.
Well, that was the only time I saw him at the festival, to tell the truth. I wasn't able to get into his Q&A, but I hear he got asked the normal question he always gets asked, which is, "What do you think of your the remakes of your films?" Which he always replies with, "Well, as long as they pay me, I'm quite happy."
Well, which is fair enough.
Well, interestingly, when I watched the Christine the other night, I then watched some of the making of behind the scenes stuff, and in that he said it was actually one of his smoothest productions ever. They said they had like 21 different cars for that film, because the cars get crushed and mashed and smashed. And he said, it was easy. It was like the easiest gig he's ever done, even though it was quite a big studio finance production. They brought him in because apparently he was coming in off the back of a flop because the thing was not very successful.
It sounds so bizarre now, doesn't it?
Yeah, they actually had access to the book because they actually had the script or the manuscript of Christine. So they actually were in production before the book became the #1 bestseller on a hardback. And they actually said the film was out when the paperback was then just released. So they had a big jump on the marketplace with that film. Although they did, like what always happens, they have to change things for plot and to fit the movie version of the King book. Sometimes they tweak them, don't they? But I saw him. His Cigarette Burns was very good. Anyone get the Masters of Horror stuff? Clive, have you got Masters of Horror?
But I did watch Cigarette Burns, and I thought that was very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I must admit I've not seen that. It's worth
Masters
the watch.
of Horror.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
It's really well. Not just that. Some of the other directors they had on, they did some great stories.
Yeah, season 1 was brilliant. Season 2 was shit.
Yeah, I always like the one with the dentist and his woman gets burnt alive in the car thing, because you look at her and you think, oh, she's attractive, and then when she's in the bath scene, she's got the most massive melons, unbelievable. I couldn't, but I know it sounds sexist.
Sorry, what episode's that?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find out what it's called. But I tell you what, even I was shocked. I was like, holy Christ, they're amazing. And but the behind the scenes, there's some interesting anecdotes of where she was a little bit worried about the nude scene and all that sort of stuff. But from my opinion, she didn't have anything to worry about at all.
And there's all our female listeners gone.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's a really good episode.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The last thing I saw of his was the last film he did, I think, called The Ward. But
see, I've not seen any of that.
No, I don't really remember much about it, which probably says a lot. So
that's probably a pay-to-play job, wasn't it? We'll pay him, and he'll come and do it, and we've got the John Carpenter name.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of vampires?
I enjoyed Vampires. I mean, it was kind of like the last good film he made.
James Woods.
Well, anything with James Woods in is always fun, isn't it? But yeah. It wasn't actually too bad. I mean, that one we didn't pick as a movie hell when we did it. So
well, no, because following that was Ghost of Mars, and I don't think anybody
that
can
was
say
my pick. Yeah,
nobody can say that was good.
No.
So anyway, I'd just like to say thanks, Keith, for giving me the opportunity, because that really may be a once in a lifetime chance to see the master play his music, and they did it so well, didn't they? I mean,
they did. Yeah. It certainly didn't disappoint, and you're right. I mean, he probably won't come back to England to play many more times, so I think it was good that we got that in, and it just seemed like a right thing to do for Halloween. I love Halloween as a time of year, and obviously we celebrate it now a lot more over here than we used to. But if Halloween goes by and we don't actually do something, I always feel that I've kind of missed out a bit. So getting to do something like that kind of made Halloween special as well. So it was cool to see it with a bunch of mates that appreciate it. So all good.
Yeah. I did hear some guys in front of me, and they said, I've waited 20 something odd years for this or something. So I don't know what he meant particularly by that, unless he meant to see John Carpenter in the flesh or something. But everyone was really appreciative, weren't they? I mean, there's all sorts of people there, weren't there? There's quite a few people with their partners, and it was quite civilized and everything. Going back to this, my friend Andrew Thomas, he went to Manchester, the gig in Manchester, and he said it was so bad, the crush, they didn't have a balcony. It was all one level. People had such an appalling view. He said he only heard about 2 songs, and then lots of people just left en masse because they just couldn't. I don't know whether they oversold the tickets for that venue, but apparently he's actually applying for a refund because he had a terrible time. Which is a shame, really, because we had a fantastic time.
Well, yeah, I must admit, I mean, there was the option to buy just standing tickets, but I really didn't fancy that. I thought, you know what, it's a sort of concert that I think, is appreciated more sort of sat with a good view than sort of crushed up by the stage, going deaf. It's a different type of concert.
I have to say, Keith, as somebody who goes to a lot of gigs now and usually is at the front, it's not much of a crush. It really isn't, especially in that kind of audience. I imagine most people would have, there wouldn't have been anybody kind of pushing their way in or anything like that. It just seemed very civilized. Those who got there early, got to the front, they didn't have to worry about somebody pushing in or trying to get in there. So I must admit, I wouldn't mind standing. Sitting was nice, but I don't mind standing either.
I don't know about you guys, but I felt like I was in the worst economy class flying seat in those seats. They were really packing them in, but yeah, I still appreciated it because my back is just so bad. If I was standing up for a couple of hours, I'd have been like a cripple afterwards. So I appreciate it, Keith. In future, if we go anywhere else, seating, mate. definitely.
I actually stood at an Alice Cooper concert once years ago. There you go, as a link to John Carpenter.
There you go, indeed. Right, so final thoughts. So if John Carpenter tours again, you guys want to go and see him again?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, especially if Keith's paying, definitely.
Yeah,
but not Manchester.
No, absolutely. But,
no, I would definitely see it again. I'd get my brother to come along because his music actually works. I thought it might be a bit of a tall order to listen to mainly synth music, but when you're there with a live band and once the Alan Howarth era kicked in, there was more guitar, especially In the Mouth of Madness was a cracking tune. Love that guitar riff in that. I'd love to go again. How about you, Clive?
Yeah. It was a fantastic concert, so yeah, I'd absolutely go again.
Excellent. All right, well, so we'll end it in our normal fashion. So, right, Mike, where can we find out about your work?
If you just Google me, you'll probably find something.
Give them your news, Mike. Tell the listeners your news about your review.
Oh yeah, I was, for some unknown reason, because I was a bit bored at work, I thought I'd scan IMDb, and I checked, and my little short film, Red Wolf Pines, someone from Southend this year put on a 8 out of 10 review on it, which is quite nice.
Oh, very nice.
And they got the joke, which is actually pleasing, you know. So they understood what we did, and he gave a glowing review, which I was quite pleased about. So it's better than being told you're shit, I suppose. So
yeah.
So, right, Simon, let's not go into your reviews on Amazon Prime, but you know, it's good to get a good positive review, and also I think congrats to Clive because he got his recent short film at the London Short Film Festival, didn't you, Clive?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. It was the London International Short Film Festival, and we opened the festival there, and it was a really nice sort of sold out crowd at the Shortwave Cinema in Bermondsey, and a really nice event, and also got to catch up with some of the cast and crew as well. So yeah, it was really good. So, and hopefully might get into some more festivals following this. So yeah,
right. That's really cool. That's cool. And you're still doing your epic, aren't you, Simon?
Yeah, I'm still doing my epic.
Yeah, it'll come out one day. As I said, I was talking to Keith earlier on. I've got an idea for a slasher film that I want to make next year. So, and we may have to get you back, Clive.
Oh yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, you know the character I'm talking about.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm gonna work on a script, and I'm gonna knock a script out, and then I'll get Keith to make it sound good afterwards.
I hope you're going to charge him for that, Keith.
Oh, no. Well, it depends. Depends how big a role I've got in it.
Yeah, well, he'll come back. The rewrite will come back with him with 90% of the screen time, probably. As long as I get to kill you in a nasty way, Keith, that's all I'm bothered.
Oh, well, that usually happens. Yeah.
That's a given. Anyway, so if you go to apocalypticconservatory.com, you can check out my shorts and not my normal shorts I wear under my trousers, but my short films. You can check all that deviant action going on there. How about you, Clive?
If you want to check out my short films, the most recent ones, if you go to vimeo.com and put in my name, Clive Ashenden, you'll find them. And if you're curious about the podcast I do with Rob Wickings, that's the A to Z of SFF, and you'll find that at the A to Z of SFF.com.
Excellent. And Keith, where can we find your work?
Yeah, well, first of all, if anybody listened to the Halloween podcast that I hosted, apologies that I missed this part completely because I got
listened to it
by work. But So yeah, but yeah, if you go to YouTube and put in British Isles, spelled Eyles, there are short films on there that I've written, produced, and directed that you can watch.
And as always, you can find my work at independentrunnings.com. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and all other good podcast providers. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Movie Heaven, Movie Hell. And if you go to iTunes or Stitcher, please leave us a review and a rating. It helps spread the word.
Yeah, spread the word, share.
Even if
Need
it's
more
Mike's a
listeners.
sexist pig, that's fine.
I'm sure you get that on your podcast, Mike.
I think there's actually a
I try
podcast
to.
called that, isn't there?
The sexist pigs. Yeah.
Sexist pig cast.
Yeah. Oink oink.
Point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for inviting us on, fellas.
All right, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Cheers.
Yes.
Thanks for
Okay.
having us on.
Yes.
Bye.
All right.
All right. Bye now.